The invisible magnet. Imagine this. You walk into a room, and instantly your energy gravitates towards someone. They smile, charming, confident, magnetic. You feel seen, understood, even special. But deep down, something feels off. You can't explain it yet, but months later, you'll look back and realize that moment was the beginning of your unraveling. Because that person, the one who made you feel chosen, was never drawn to your light. They were drawn to your empathy. And if you're an empath, you need to understand something crucial. Your energy doesn't just attract love, it attracts need. It attracts emptiness. It attracts narcissists every single time. It's not because you're weak. It's because your heart radiates exactly what a narcissist craves: admiration, emotional fuel, and the illusion of being whole. In this video, we will go into dive deep into the shadow side of empathy, the dark psychological magnet that pulls narcissists straight into your life. You'll finally understand why your kindness becomes their weapon, why your healing energy draws their toxicity like a moth to a flame, and most importantly, how to break this invisible cycle before it breaks you. So take a deep breath, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you love forever. The hidden psychological dance. The relationship between an empath and a narcissist isn't random. It's a pattern, an ancient, invisible dance choreographed by pain, need, and the search for validation. Empaths are healers by nature. They feel deeply, not just their own emotions, but everyone else's. They absorb energy like a sponge, constantly scanning for discomfort, sadness, or pain in others. And when they sense it, they rush to fix it, to soothe it, to heal it. Now enter the narcissist. On the surface, they appear confident, charismatic, even alluring. But behind that mask lies a gaping emotional void, an unhealed wound of shame and insecurity they've spent their entire lives hiding. They don't seek love, they seek validation. They crave worship, control, and admiration, because without it, they collapse. So, when a narcissist meets an empath, something almost chemical happens. The narcissist senses the empath as compassion and sees a mirror reflecting the love they can't give themselves. The empath senses the narcissist's pain and feels an irresistible urge to heal it. The narcissist becomes addicted to the empath's energy, and the empath mistakes the narcissist's neediness for intimacy. It's not love, it's survival disguised as connection. Every compliment, every glance, every "you understand me like no one else" is part of a subconscious transaction. The narcissist feeds on admiration. The empath feeds on being needed, and together, they create an illusion so powerful it feels like destiny, when in truth, it's just trauma speaking to trauma. The empath doesn't realize they've stepped into a psychological trap, one that feels warm, safe, and familiar at first, until it slowly begins to suffocate them. How the narcissist hooks the empath. It always begins the same way, with intensity. The narcissist doesn't fall in love, they capture. They study you, mirror you, and become everything you've ever wanted. They notice your empathy, your kindness, your desire to connect, and they weaponize it. They flood you with attention, affection, and validation so overwhelming, it feels unreal, because it is. Psychologists call this phase love bombing, the emotional high that creates addiction. They text you constantly. They call you their soulmate. They tell you that you're different, that they've never met anyone like you. You don't realize it yet, but you're being conditioned. Every compliment becomes a psychological hook. Every moment of affection trains your brain to crave their approval like oxygen. You start to feel like you've finally found someone who sees you, when in truth, they're only reflecting what you've shown them. And then, just as your heart opens completely, the shift begins, subtle at first, a small criticism, a withdrawn text, a cold silence where warmth used to be. You feel it immediately, that drop in energy, that panic in your chest. You wonder, did I do something wrong? And that's exactly how they tighten their control. Because the narcissist thrives on uncertainty. They feed on your confusion, your anxiety, your desperate need to restore harmony. They know that empaths can't stand emotional imbalance, and they use that to pull you deeper. One moment, they lift you to heaven. The next, they let you fall. And you spend days, weeks, sometimes months chasing the high of that first connection, trying to bring back the version of them that never truly existed. By the time you realize what's happening, you're no longer just attached, you're addicted. Not to the person, but to the feeling they created in you. The illusion of love. The fantasy of being chosen. It's a psychological bond rooted in both pleasure and pain, what researchers call trauma bonding. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to break free. Why the empath can't let go. The empath knows something's wrong. They feel the shift. They sense the manipulation, the subtle disrespect, the cold withdrawal. Yet, they stay. They stay not because they're blind, but because they see too much. They see the broken child behind the narcissist's mask. They see the pain that created the cruelty. And in their heart, they believe love can heal anything. That's the empath's curse. Their compassion becomes their chain, because while they're trying to save the narcissist, they're slowly losing themselves. Every time the narcissist pulls away, the empath blames themselves. Maybe I wasn't kind enough. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe if I just love them harder, they'll change. But narcissists don't change through love. They change only when losing control hurts more than facing their own emptiness. And an empath's endless forgiveness ensures that never happens. The empath's mind becomes a battlefield torn between truth and hope. Their logic screams, "This is toxic," but their heart whispers, "They need me." So they stay even as they begin to disappear. Their laughter fades, their confidence erodes, their light dims under the weight of trying to hold both hearts, theirs and the narcissist's. And the cruelest part, the narcissist senses this loyalty and exploits it. They know exactly how to reel the empath back. A text, a tearful apology, a promise of change that never comes. The empath forgives again. And the cycle continues, because for the empath, love means understanding, and for the narcissist, love means control. Together, they create a relationship that looks like passion, but feels like sacrifice. And in that sacrifice, the empath learns the most painful lesson of all. You can't heal someone who enjoys their own poison. The breaking point. There always comes a moment, quiet, unexpected, devastating, when the empath finally sees it, not through anger, not through revenge, but through clarity. They start to notice the pattern, the way every conversation ends with guilt, every disagreement becomes their fault, every apology is followed by another one, and suddenly, the empath realizes something terrifying. The love they've been fighting for never actually existed. It was a performance, carefully scripted, perfectly executed, designed to keep them hooked. That realization doesn't come with fireworks. It comes in silence, a numbness that spreads through the heart as the truth settles in. I was never loved. I was used. That's the breaking point. The moment empathy turns into exhaustion. The moment love becomes clarity. At first, the empath grieves, not just the narcissist, but the version of themselves they lost in the process. The one who believed that kindness could fix cruelty. The one who thought love could save someone who doesn't want to be saved. But then, something powerful begins to shift. The empath's silence, once a sign of submission, becomes a shield. They stop explaining. They stop defending. They stop bleeding for someone who never even noticed the wound. And that silence terrifies the narcissist, because for the first time, the empath isn't feeding the connection, they're starving it. The narcissist will sense the withdrawal instantly. They'll try to re-enter, love bombing, guilt tripping, promising to change, but the empath has changed too. They've begun to understand that their empathy isn't weakness, it's power. Power that must be protected. Power that no longer needs to prove its worth by saving someone else. And in that realization, the empath finally walks away, not to punish the narcissist, but to heal themselves. That's the true victory. Not revenge, not closure, just peace. The psychological reason empaths keep attracting narcissists and how to break the cycle forever. Here's the truth most people never want to hear. Empaths don't attract narcissists because of fate. They attract them because of familiarity, somewhere deep in the empath's past. In childhood, in family. In the early moments where love was first defined, they learned that love meant earning it. That love was something you had to prove. That peace only existed when everyone else was happy. So the empath grows up believing that love equals sacrifice. That to be good is to give endlessly. That to be safe is to please everyone, even at the cost of their own soul. The narcissist feels strangely familiar because they replicate that exact emotional dynamic. The empath subconsciously recognizes the chaos and mistakes it for chemistry. Their nervous system confuses adrenaline with love and instability with passion. That's the cruel irony of it all. The empath's light doesn't just attract darkness, it reminds it of home. And until that wound is healed, the cycle repeats. So, how does the empath break free? Not by becoming cold, not by suppressing their compassion, but by learning boundaries, the language of self-respect. Because empathy without boundaries is self-destructs. And self-love without limits becomes narcissism. Balance lies somewhere in between, in learning to love others without abandoning yourself. The moment the empath stops chasing validation, the narcissist loses power. The moment the empath stops explaining themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them, the cycle dies. The moment they understand that protecting their peace is not cruelty, it has clarity, they finally step into emotional freedom. And when that happens, something beautiful unfolds. The empath's energy shifts. They no longer attract those who drain them. Instead, they begin to draw those who match their frequency, people who give, not just take, people who see, not just use, people who love, not just need. That's when the empath's curse transforms into their superpower. Because the same heart that once drew pain now radiates peace, and the narcissist can no longer survive in that light. The power of walking away. There's something sacred about walking away quietly. No drama, no revenge, no final words, just peace. Because silence, real silence, isn't weakness. It's strength refined through pain. It's the sound of your soul remembering its own worth. Empaths, listen closely. You are never too much. You are never too emotional, too kind, or too forgiving. You simply gave your love to someone who didn't know how to receive it. You tried to pour light into a person who was addicted to darkness, and then blamed yourself when they couldn't see the sun. But you cannot teach someone to value what they've never learned to feel. You can only show them what love looks like by giving it to yourself. When you walk away from a narcissist, you don't lose anything real. You lose confusion. You lose chaos. You lose the illusion of love that kept you small, and what you gain is everything: clarity, freedom, wholeness, the ability to finally breathe without permission. Because healing isn't about closing your heart, it's about opening it wisely. It's learning to love without rescuing, to care without collapsing, to give without losing yourself in the process. So, if you've ever wondered why your heart attracts broken souls, it's because your light has always been powerful. But now, it's time to protect that light, to let your empathy evolve into wisdom. And to remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose healing might begin with your voice. And remember, the strongest souls aren't the ones who save everyone, they're the ones who learn to save themselves.